Hello there. Yeah, well, here we have a new addition to the flat. I've just gone last night. I picked it up from my old flat, from my old mate there, and carried it back over to the house. And this is quite. I wish I'd have got it early because this is quite a special thing to me. It's been there all my life. Before I was born, in my old house. I'd always be looking up at this picture. It would always be, and I took it everywhere with me to various houses and whatever, and it's always fascinated me. I'd look at it as a kid and see this little world of little stick people, and I'd marvel at it. These groups of people in the middle there, and just down here, I used to wonder, like, that big tall building. Who lives in there? What's it used for? What would it be like to be inside it? So as a kid, you could really imagine stuff. And of course, it's a little magical world. But turns out this magical world is, I think it's Salford near Manchester. It's, of course, if you don't know by now, it's by L.S. Lowry. It's called A Sunday Afternoon. And L.S. Lowry, of course, he was a major British artist of the early 20th century, or 20s, 30s, that sort of thing, 50s, and just an incredible guy. And famously, there was a pop song, I think in the 70s, about him saying he painted matchstick men and matchstick cats and dogs. You might know that one. And he was an interesting guy. Very much, he worked as like a rent collector, or just for Pall Mall or something, or the cigarette company as well, to work for them. And of an evening, he'd learn art, that was where he came from. So, not a classic painter, but he had his own style, and became very popular for it. Look at that smoke in the distance. That's like Blade Runner, isn't it? But 1920s. And he was just a bit of a character, really. In fact, I heard he had a load of clocks in his house set to different times, and he told friends it was because he liked not knowing what the time was when he painted, which is quite a pleasing eccentricity. And now I'm older now. It was a magical world to me as a kid, but look at it now. Obviously, the time I guess there's union meetings going on in the park there and all sorts, and that sense of being tiny against the landscape, the industrial landscape. No one casts a shadow in Lowry paintings. They're all just sort of against a white background, aren't they? But anyway, this isn't original. I wouldn't be carrying it down the London Road in Leicester if it was. This is actually a 1960s, 70s poster. When we say poster, it's I've got a quick look here. See all that? Yeah, there you go. So it's a big wooden thick thing, and it's by the Athena Company, who you may know from the 1980s, the famous poster in students' bedrooms and wall of houses of the tennis playing woman scratching her arse. I don't know if you remember that one. But that was the posters later on. Early on, they did these wooden boards, painted prints. And this one's a particular interest, actually, because it actually once belonged to Lady Isabel Barnett, who was from Cossington in Leicestershire, and she used to appear on a chat show in the 1950s, What's My Line? Because in those days, just being an aristocrat meant that you were a celebrity. You could be on those things. And she was very intelligent and witty and everything. She lived nearby. But she was also a kleptomaniac. And in 1980, she got arrested for stealing stuff. And tragically, 4 days later, she took a load of painkillers and died. So that was pretty sad. Pretty sad. But it was a crazy TV show. That there was Gilbert Harding as well, wasn't there? The angriest man on television, or the nastiest man on television, and who ended up crying on television on a interview program. That's a whole different story. But anyway, I come into it. Well, my family comes into this. They sold off Lady Isabel's accoutrements and the house and everything in the house. And my family, my mum, my mum and my granddad, grandma, swooped in and got this, which is probably one of the cheapest things. Genetically, it's in our blood to sort of move in on a jumble sale or one of those sort of country dusty selling off things. It's just, we've always done it. It's like a weekend thing, and we're like Vikings of the jumble sale world. And they managed to pick this one up. And yeah, no, it's so quite a story to this, and yeah, quite lovely. And on the way home, as I was taking it back to come here last night, there's a homeless guy who lives nearby. I think his name's Benny. I've talked to him a couple of times. He goes, "Oh, what you got there? What you got there?" And I showed it, I turned it to him, and he took one look, and he went, "He painted matchstick men and matchstick cats and dogs." So that was rather lovely.